additional, apart from getting into a business school, are there additional courses, things that they could do to fortify themselves or to make sure they're at the cutting edge of things when the things emerge in a year or two? What do you advise to these students?
So, see, people who are entering now, business school now will graduate 2 years from now. So I'm very optimistic that 2 years from now we'll be in a much, much better place than we are now. Things will be back to normal. If anything, things could be growing faster than they were growing till last year, because companies and countries are throwing so much sort of money at the problem on hand that who knows, what will happen 2 years from now. So I don't see, a problem. In fact, if you fortify yourself with the right skills and if you get the right education in this period, it could hold you in very good stead. Like we discussed, things are changing pretty rapidly around us. So whether you go to business school or whether you go to or you don't, you need to sort of acquire the new skills which are going to be required in the years to come. Like I said, the world is becoming even more digital as we speak, and this actually COVID crisis is only acting like a catalyst, and accelerating that shift to digital. I'll give you an example. Companies are already doing video interviews, right? I mean, they used to do video interviews every now and then, but now they become so good at doing video interviewing that I think in the future they will just do video interviews. We run a site called 99 Acres, where business came to a halt because of the lockdown. Because you don't normally buy a house without seeing the house, right? And even if you want to rent a house, you want to check it out. But today we are enabling online site visits. So there are sort of landlords go to the house, they shoot a video, they sort of take you through their house, and it's broadcast online, and you get almost get the same experience. So if anything, more and more stuff is going to move online, more and more good stuff is going to go digital. Data science, machine learning, AI are here to stay, or digital companies are sitting on tons of data. All of them are sitting on tons of data, and they can do a lot with their data. We need people with the right skills to work on that data. If whether you're going to business school or not, I think you should be utilizing this period to acquire these skills, the digital skills, because they're going to be just like you know 10 years ago, 20 years ago, PPTs and Excels, and without them you could not sort of do much in life. Going forward, I think if you're not digitally savvy and if you don't know how to sort of do some of these things, you're going to fall behind. So it's important that this time is not wasted, and students and use this time to acquire the skills which will be in demand going forward. I think business school is still a very good investment. All these companies where what you're taught is how to manage and grow businesses. Functions like sales, marketing, finance, HR, management are not going out of fashion. I mean, they will be required irrespective of whichever industry you are in. So today one industry may be a sunshine industry, tomorrow something else will be a sunrise industry or whatever. But in every business you need to grow your business, you need to manage your business, you need to service your customers, you need to build new products, you need to market them, and that is what is taught in business school. And this is going to be required irrespective of what happens. So I think it's still a good investment. Now, where things could be a little dicey is, let's say, if you're signing up for a 1 year program, where if it looks like 9 months out of 1 year is going to be online and not offline, then you may want to think twice. But if it looks like it's going to be just 2, 3, 4 month period, and then things will go back to normal from a campus life standpoint, then I think it's still worth, even a 1 year program is still worth it.
Thank you. Thank you. Rishi, looking at the classes opening by end July or first week of August that you spoke about, what do you advise the new coming batches to work upon? Because they still have solid 2.5 months. What is it that you would like when they come, they can take off? Because earlier I know that the IIMs used to call students early. For those who are weak in mathematics and quant, they used to call early, and some for some of these statistical courses and so on and so forth. What do you advise strongly for all those students to work upon in these next 6 to 8 weeks, so that when they come, they are highly productive and effective?
Well, first of all, I must mention that the prep program which we do hold for students who have some weaknesses in their background, the prep program will be held anyway. So I think it's if the classes for first year are scheduled in beginning of August, then prep program will be something in the middle of July. And just to clarify once again, all these are at this point of time could possibly be online because as long as there are any risks involved, we won't be bringing people to the classroom. So whether it's online or physical is something only time will tell. Uh, well, I think as far as preparation is concerned, I think there are a few areas which are always helpful. One is, of course, if you're weak in quant, that's certainly something which can be a handicap in an MBA program. So that's certainly an area worth brushing up. Some students, particularly engineers, find that some familiarity with accounting is helpful because the accounting courses can move pretty fast on campus. The third area where it never hurts to be better prepared is in terms of communication and language skills. So once again, if you're weak in those areas, it certainly helps to work on that a bit before you come to IIM, because as all of you guys know, once the IIM academic year starts, you have very little time to attend to any gaps which you may have in your past experience and expertise. So it definitely makes sense to fill those gaps before you come to campus. And quant and communication in particular are two areas I would focus on.
So before we move ahead, I have one question, Rishi. Um, the COVID has forced us to look at quite a few things. Perhaps quite a few things have been long overdue in academic institutions. The transformation that should have happened long time ago, and it has got deferred, and COVID now really hit hard. And some of the things you start doing. Are there any certain things which you feel that will now get institutionalized, and that would be really good for forward going ahead? Are there any such things that are happening in terms of transformational things as a business school?
But, I think this varies a lot from one school to another. By and large, in the IIM system, we are quite sensitive to changes that are happening around. And particularly in terms of curriculum, changes do happen on a regular basis. I think what you're hinting at, if I guess, is really on the technological front. It's probably true that we have not been at the cutting edge of technology, but over the years, I think even there we have been improving our technological capabilities. Particularly uses of simulations, games, and so on has become quite common in most institutes and in IIM Bangalore as well. You probably know that IMB is the leader in MOOCs. So thanks to our MOOCs presence, we also have a lot of course material which is already recorded and can be used to supplement classroom teaching. I think we have more than 50 MOOCs courses at this point of time. So as one of the leaders in that area, we are already reasonably well prepared to use technology in the classroom. I think where the challenge is perhaps is in integrating all of this together in a good way. For example, I think in an ideal world, maybe we need to look at each course and see, which part of it is well delivered by MOOCs, which part of it could be in synchronous online, and which part of it benefits the maximum from classroom discussion and learning. And then courses perhaps need to be structured accordingly. We've had the luxury of doing almost everything in the class, and maybe now COVID is putting a little pressure on us to look at what is the optimum mix of these different media. I think that's a good thing. But I would say that in spite of that, we have been quite sensitive to some of these things even earlier, and COVID has just given a bit of impetus to that.
One more question that students are asking, Rishi, is if in case the first term completely becomes online, because if it goes to beyond August or September, then perhaps the whole term will end up being online. So do the business schools, including IIMs, are looking at any concessions on the fees front? Any discussions that have happened? Is there such a possibility? That's a question coming up from the student.
At the present point of time, I think that's quite unlikely, because as far as the institute is concerned, even if we offer online courses, we would be using, of course, the same faculty who would be teaching in the regular classroom. These faculty would be spending equal, perhaps maybe even more time teaching online, because we'll have to provide maybe discussion forums and other online methods to supplement what's happening in the classroom. So at the present point of time, I don't see any significant concessions likely in the event of online teaching. Of course, if there are some costs which we are not incurring, for example, if there's an element of hostel and food and so on, maybe those elements, there might be some possibility of removing or reducing them. But from the core academic part, I can't see any likelihood that there will be a reduction in cost.
Looking at the way the changes are happening in the external world, microeconomy, and the kind of industries, the transitions are happening, the technology, as for example, mobile eliminated almost 100, smartphone has eliminated almost 100 different industries. So these kind of things emerging. So the the industries and the world is looking for leadership of a particular kind or some traits that could be of great value looking ahead. So I will first throw it to Rishi and then I'll come to Hitesh on this. So what are the things that you feel, if we are looking at leaders emerging from these business schools, and many of them here, these youngsters, 23, 24-year-old, in the next 7, 8, 10 years, what kind of traits do you see they need to work upon, inculcate to be at the forefront of this transformation and transition?
There are a few which I think are particularly important. One, I think Hitesh already mentioned, and that is the importance of being comfortable in the digital domain. This is going to be particularly important for leaders. I just clarify that a little further by saying the understanding of data analytics and how to use data constructively for decision making, for designing products, for meeting the needs of customers, that's clearly going to be very important. So your ability to integrate data analytics skills with other more traditional managerial skills will be, in my view, quite important for successful leaders. A second important quality you will require is the willingness to experiment. Traditionally, in companies, the costs of experimentation were very high, but today in the digital world, the costs of experimentation are much lower. Many companies now expect people to do lots of digital experiments. I'm sure that's true in Naukri and in the other companies Hitesh is associated with. So you have to be able to design experiments, run them quickly. I mean, for example, companies like whether it be even our Zomato or Uber or anybody, they're all doing that all the time, right? They're just trying to figure out new customer needs, new ways of meeting those needs. So your ability to design experiments, roll them out online digitally, and then learn from those experiments and redesign your products, services, etc. That's another skill which I would believe would be extremely important. So these are the two these main skills I see at this point of time, which are required in addition to a lot of the traditional attributes that successful managers and leaders need.
Hitesh, could you comment on this? Looking ahead, next 5, 7, 10 years, what are the kind of skill sets these youngsters should try to inculcate to be at the forefront of the leadership roles that the world will throw at them?
Like Rishi said, I think leaders of tomorrow need to be comfortable with technology and all the changes that are taking place around us. We are moving into the big data world. We are moving into a more digital world. So if you are scared of technology, you're going to have a problem. If you're going to be scared of data, you're going to have a problem. Uh, Besides this, increasingly, what we are seeing in our company, at least, is that there is no, beyond a point, if it's all about attitude, right? And it's about your willingness to work in teams, your willingness to collaborate with other functions, because you can't work in silo after a while. Everything is changing, so even the traditional structures, which have been in place for a long time, tend to break down after a while. So as a manager and as a leader, if you are able to work with other people, if you are able to collaborate with other departments, you could be in product, but you need to work with marketing, you need to work with the data science team, you need to work with the engineering team, so I think increasingly these skills are going to become very, very important. And at least what we are seeing in our company is that people who are sort of who tend to work in a silo, after a while tend to stagnate. So it's important to build the right communication skills. It's important to build the right collaboration skills. It's important to, I think, continuously update yourself, like I mentioned earlier, on what's happening in the world around you. So it's important to be curious, to know how things are changing and how that could impact my function or my things are changing very rapidly. What digital marketing and the way the marketing function is evolving, for example, every 2 years you have something new emerging. So if you don't sort of invest in learning what's happening, and if you're not curious about the changes that are taking place, you could fall very quickly, you could fall behind. So these are things which I think are going to matter a lot in times to come. I know, and by the way, I'm fascinated. I've been on several juries, and even at the school level today, there's high quality work happening because people are just looking up, stuff on Google, and stuff we could not have imagined is now available online. And there is a lot you can do if you are curious, and if there is a desire to sort of learn, and there is a desire to figure out how things work. And I think this is going to become even more valuable in times to come because, like I said, we are moving into a world where there's going to be a lot of disruption.